Last time around, we discussed the government's claims that 80% of Venezuelan migrants are Guyanese. This time, our attention is turned to the opposition, APNU+AFC, and their curious claims about Venezuelan migrants. Opposition leader Aubrey Norton voiced his concerns in a press conference. And though some of his concerns were valid, the language he used, along with some unsubstantiated claims, undermined the opposition's stance on migration and bring into question their competence. I'm the unspecialist. Let's talk about why the opposition is wrong about Venezuelan migration to Guyana. Before we get into the main topic, here's a message from Washington law firm, today's sponsor.
Divorce is hard, painful, and complicated. After the heartbreak comes paperwork. Washington law firm specializes in helping you through that process. We know how hard endings can be, so we take your legal representation seriously. At Washington Law Firm, we provide serious help for serious legal matters like divorce. To book your free consultation, call 718-877-3100.
Or find us at 455 Utica Avenue, Brooklyn, New York. If you'd like to advertise with us, be sure to make contact via our Facebook page. If you'd like to hire me specifically to host your events, for voiceovers, radio ads, or record other kinds of advertisement, you can also make contact using the same means. The beautiful voice that's in the ad on this video is available to you along with many others. Feel free to make contact and inquire about other services as well. Let's listen to the opposition leader's stance before we get into analyzing it.
We believe that there are several critical issues to be addressed. We remain alarmed over the continued influx into Guyana of refugees from Venezuela and the PPP government inept and treacherous response to the situation. The number of Venezuelan refugees in Guyana is estimated around 35,000, and that number is growing as we speak. In several critical ways, this situation has long reached crisis proportions for the nation. First, a threat to national security and territorial integrity. Most of these refugees now reside in our sparsely populated hinterland region. Should they become a majority in any sizable area of our territory, Guyana could face the threat of possible annexation of these areas by Venezuela. The influx and uncontrolled integration of refugees can also facilitate the placement of fifth columnists and operatives into key government, military, and leadership positions, both at the local and national levels, and thus achieve a soft invasion of the country with far-reaching implications towards security, independence, and nationhood.
Mr. Norton is right to be concerned about the hinterland being flooded with Venezuelans, especially those illegally entering the country.
We have repeatedly expressed our deep concern over the possibility and reality of the PPP seeking to register refugees as electors. That threat also confronts our country today. In this regard, let us recap a few critical developments. In August 2021, the PPPC administration passed the Registration of Births and Deaths Amendment Bill, which became Act Number 9 of 2021. Particularly, this act introduced into our laws a deceptively harmless provision which the PPP government said was intended to simplify the requirements for obtaining a Guyana birth certificate. Section 44A, one of the new sections inserted into the law, outlines the process by which an adult who has no documentation whatsoever may acquire a Guyana birth certificate on that basis alone. 1. A declaration in a prescribed form signed by a person of high standing in the community, including a community leader or tushaw. Or 2. A declaration under the Statutory Interpretation Act by a person of high standing in the community, including a community leader or tushaw. This declaration is to be signed by a justice of the peace or a commissioner of oaths, and the declaration must state the particulars of the birth of the person. Effectively, the law provides a means for any person to be registered as a born Guyanese without the need to provide proper evidence that they were indeed born in Guyana. Furthermore, Any person once armed with a Guyana birth certificate and over 14 years of age now becomes entitled to be listed in the National Register of Registrants from which the voters list is extracted. Compare this slackness to the much tighter requirements in other countries. In Trinidad and Tobago, for example, a person seeking a birth certificate is required to provide documentary proof, such as a letter from the hospital where they were born, an immunization card, names of siblings, or a record from the school they attended, all documents that a genuine applicant already has or can readily obtain. We raised the alarm then that the PPP intended to effect thousands of birth registrations, particularly in those far-flung hinterland regions, using an established network of PPPC-aligned justices of the peace, tushaus, and notaries public. The danger is compounded by the fact that the Ghana Election Commission now conducts office-based registration without verification of residence, as the PPP has also removed the residency requirement from the Registration Act. Guyanese must be aware that the registration of births and deaths is a critical component of our election integrity and national security. The adding of persons to a register who are not legitimately entitled undermines the integrity of the population and can lead to the anomalies in the allocation of resources and voting and representation.
He is also right to be concerned about Venezuelans having an easy path to citizenship.
Note that we draw a distinction between the registration of refugees for administrative purposes, which is necessary, and the registration for citizens, which we oppose. Our core principles on the rights of refugees. The opposition wishes to reiterate that despite these deep concerns, we remain committed to the comfortable settlement of these economic refugees in our homeland as a demonstration of our typical Guyanese hospitality and our full compliance with our international humanitarian obligations to refugees. The UN Convention of Refugees, under which Guyana is obligated to accept refugees, spells out clearly that they are entitled to such rights as employment, education, healthcare, internal travel and housing, international law. However, makes a clear distinction between migrants and refugees. In particular, there's no obligation for states to grant political rights to refugees.
However, when stating his stance, there was a major problem. He called those Venezuelans refugees and alluded to Guyana's obligations to international law concerning refugees. These Venezuelans, however, according to international law, are not refugees. Who is a refugee defined in international law? The 1951 Refugee Convention defines a refugee as a person who, owing to well-founded fear of being persecuted for reasons of race, religion, nationality, membership of a particular social group, or political opinion, is outside of the country of their nationality and is unable, or owing to such fear, is unwilling to avail themselves of the protection of that country. Regional legal instruments in Africa and the Americas have broadened this definition by including people who are compelled to leave their country because of external aggression, occupation, foreign domination, internal conflicts, massive violation of human rights, or events seriously disturbing public order. Although Mr. Norton and whoever wrote his speech may have used the word refugees to imply that the people will be sent back, Article 33 of the 1951 Refugee Convention says something entirely different. The 1951 Refugee Convention and its 1967 Protocol are the key legal documents that protect refugees. They provide the universal definition of who is a refugee and outline the minimum standards for their treatment. The cornerstone is the principle of non-refoulement in Article 33, which states that refugees have a right not to be sent back to their country of origin if their life or freedom would be at risk. Notwithstanding these principles, migrants must go through a process to determine whether or not they're actually refugees or qualify for refugee status.
And have you been collecting any information as far as the registration process goes to ascertain whether indeed people have been registering as Guyanese, although they may not be eligible? And what numbers are you looking at?
Well, I can't give you the details of the numbers, but I know we have had cases and we have made the objections. As I understand it, once you make the objection, they will note it, and then we will have our election commissioners raise it at the Elections Commission.
Let me also add that our representatives from Region 1, 7, 8, 9, and 3 at a very important national executive meeting that we had a couple of days ago indicated this is a reoccurrence. People who are known not to be Guyanese born, but Venezuelans, are registering. And we have asked them to accumulate the information, the names and so on, but they're not getting support. We understand that the person in Region 1 who is helping out in this thing is a representative from the Prime Minister's office doing this thing. And that is serious. And when the AFC reps are asking for the information, they're not being given any.
The second issue with what Mr. Norton and Mr. Ramjattan said is their assertion about fraudulent registration of Venezuelans to the Guyanese list of electors. They made claims about this fraudulent registration without any explicit evidence or suggestion of formal or legal action being taken against the alleged perpetrators. So, no matter how many times they say that this matter is serious, they themselves can't be taken seriously about it. Additionally, if the loophole that allows this fraudulent registration to occur comes as a result of an amendment made to the laws, then the most direct way to counter it would be to address the amendment itself. In short, the lack of robust evidence and formal proceedings allows for easy rebuttals like this one.
I listened to both the leader of the opposition, Mr. Aubrey Norton, and leader of the Alliance for Change, Mr. Khemraj Ramjattan. And both of them have made the allegation that the Guyana Elections Commission is illegally registering Venezuelans and putting them on the national database. And they are both alleging that this will undermine the integrity of the electoral process. Not a single supporting evidence, not a scintilla of evidence to corroborate or support this very serious allegation. Now, let me make it clear that the government nor the PPP controls the Guyana Elections Commission, nor directs the Guyana Elections Commission on how to discharge its statutory and constitutional mandate. The Guyana Elections Commission is a constitutional, autonomous, and independent body. So we don't hold any responsibility for the actions of GCOM.
For the opposition supporters who may get upset while watching this, I'll apply the same simple logical process that I used when examining the government's claims. First, if you have identified a fraudulent process via a loophole and have reliable sources, then producing good evidence should be easy. And if that's the case, where is it? Second, if the Venezuelans entering the country illegally are labeled as refugees, then it undermines the opposition's claims and concerns about their legal status in this country. As much as you can see that the opposition leader implied or referenced the international law concerning this matter, from the definitions and information presented from that very international law, his statements are a clear contradiction. Now, of course, I could be wrong and have an entirely poor analysis of this situation. Regardless, the point of this video is to make you, the legitimate electors of this country, more curious. In situations like these, you need to ask your representatives questions. And if their statements can't stand up to simple, logical scrutiny, then something wrong there. Because in cases like these, a poor argument can totally undermine or destroy a well-intended cause before it ever reaches its conclusion. And consequently, that cause will go on to hurt the very same people it intended to help. Do you think the opposition has valid concerns about the influx of Venezuelan migrants? Are they doing a good job of holding the government accountable? Do you think that their messaging has been inconsistent and contradictory at times? Do you think that Venezuelan migrants should be given an easy path to Guyanese citizenship? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Be sure to like the video and share it with someone who may find this discussion interesting. As always, thanks for your support and thanks for watching.